Okay, so in this video, we're going to put together the Fireman card, and I'm actually going to begin by putting together our envelope here. So first thing you want to do is just get everything nice and creased and folded at the score marks, and the envelope goes together pretty simply. What you're going to do is you're going to take these two flaps and fold them in, and this flap is going to go over these two. You're going to place your glue right here in these little areas here, and you're going to push this down. So go ahead and do that, and then we can go ahead and put the little piece on the front to finish it off. Okay, so that is what your envelope should look like. And then we can go ahead and fold this over, and we're going to take this little fire emblem, and we're just going to simply glue that right onto the center of the envelope, just like that. And I'm just going to grab my glue. With a small piece like this, you definitely want to be very sparse with your glue. So I'm going to go ahead and put a few little tiny dots. I'm going to get the glue going here real quick. Just a few little dots here, and then just really tiny little dots along the edge. You don't want that glue to smear too much. So just be very sparse with it. If you get some areas where there's too much, you can always kind of smooth it out with your finger. And we'll get it right there in the center. And just hold that down and give it a chance to dry. So there's your cute envelope, and it's ready for our card, which we will go ahead and put together now. Okay, so our card is actually pretty simple. What we're going to do is we're going to actually, before we get started, we did decide that we wanted to do a little bit of embossing on this card to give it some interest. And it's this piece and these two little pieces that we're going to emboss. And for the Fireman card, we're going to use this folder by Doris. We have the information on what it's called in the supply list. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. We're just going to put our little pieces in here, just like that. And I'm going to run it through my embosser. I'm just using a Cuttlebug, but we also have a Sizzix Big Shot that we also use. So either of the two are fine, and they'll get the job done for you. So let me just grab my embosser. I'm going to slide that under the two little plates. Grab our big plate. Let me open this up. And we'll just feed it through. Okay. And that should do it. There we go. Nice and pretty. And there's my other piece. Okay, so got that embossed. Gonna go ahead and get that glued in. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my card here, and as you can see, and you may not be able to see it on camera here, but you want to fold this piece like this. Your little image of the fireman hat is going to be in the front, and then when they grab it and open it, a little message will be revealed in here. So it's a very simple card. And what we can go ahead and do is just start laying down our pieces here. This piece is going to get glued right there. You just want to make sure that that little hole, that opening, is nice and flush and you have it perfectly aligned. Okay, so that's where that's going to go. This piece here, there are two little notches that are cut into your design. That's to help you line up the bottom. So you want to get that lined up there. And then there's also two little notches up here, and you want to make sure that that curves the right way. Okay, so you're going to glue these pieces down just like that. So go ahead and do that, and then we can go ahead and also get this piece glued down. This is where you're going to do your journaling or your stamping, or you can write a little message or whatever you want to do, and just make sure that that's flush as well. Okay, so go ahead and get these pieces glued down, and then we can finish up the card. Okay, so when you're gluing this down, it might help to just kind of hold it from both sides and do your best to get that nice and aligned with that contour and that curve there. and just push down and hold it down nice and flat so that it doesn't peel away. Okay, we can do this part first in case we do get a little bit of glue here, because we're going to cover that up when we're done. Okay, so that's roughly what it should look like there. Okay, and then we can go ahead and glue the remaining two pieces down and try to thin out the glue as much as you can on these pieces here. I don't know if you guys can hear that. We've got some coyotes outside of my studio. That's kind of creepy. Hope my cat's okay. Okay, and then we'll just put this last little piece in here. And just using those little guides there, we'll get that nice and centered. That's perfect. Okay, and then we can take this piece here, and again, just be very sparse with the glue. We don't want the paper to buckle. Just a real thin line of glue. And try to get it out to the edge too, as best as you can. Just like that. And again, just make sure that when you're lining it up, that you're following that nice cutout there and you're not obstructing it either. Okay, there we go, just like that. And just hold that down for a few seconds, let it dry. And then before it gets its full hold, go ahead and swing it and just make sure that it opens up. And mine's looking perfect. Okay, so I can work on the inside here. We've got 3 layers. The top layer that actually has our caption. You could block this out and actually stamp on this if you'd prefer to. There's different ways of doing it depending on the software, and then we're going to put this layer on the back here like that, so that that white shows through. Okay, so that's kind of what it's going to look like. So we're going to go ahead and get these 3 layers glued together. I'm going to do the back layer first. Just real thin glue on here. We don't want it to warp our paper, especially now that it's becoming a little more humid and wet out. Okay, so just get that nice and perfectly aligned, and when you do, go ahead and push down. Make sure that it holds nicely, just like that. And then we can take this part here and glue that right to the front, like so. So go ahead and do the same thing, just apply our glue to the back. Okay. This may be a good little piece to use some spray adhesive if you have some handy. It's up to you, whatever your method is. I'm sure we'll do just fine, and try to get some of that glue into the little nooks and crannies there. Okay, and I'm just going to use my table to align it, and that's good right there. Okay, and then just push down and get that into place. Got a beautiful little caption, it's nice and sturdy. Okay, so that is going to get glued right into the center of this piece here, like that. Okay, so we can go ahead and put our glue on this piece. Now this is a nice thick piece. I'd still keep the glue kind of thin, but you don't really have to worry too much about that warping. So we'll get that nice and centered in our card and just push down. Okay, that looks great. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like when it opens up. And then on the front of the card, we've got this cool little Fireman design. Okay, so we got to put this thing together. It's pretty straightforward. Let me get these pieces out of here. First thing we're going to do is glue this piece to this piece, like so. It's going to overlay like that. And then we'll put the dimensional parts on the hat. And I'm thinking that we'll probably even throw a pop dot on there to give it even more dimension. Okay, so again, just be very sparse with the glue on these pieces. try to get your line as it's coming out of the bottle to be nice and thin. You know, just kind of squeeze gently and keep that nozzle moving around so it's not in one place for too long. And that's kind of a good way to ensure that you don't get too much glue in one spot. Now these little parts here that are really thin, just try to get a few dabs here and there just so that it stays down. There's no way you're going to cover that completely. Okay, so then just kind of nudge that around until you've got it perfectly placed, and then push down. Okay, that looks great. And then we can go ahead and build our final little pieces here. So you've got these two pieces, this black piece and this red piece. There's a very fine border around that. So we're going to go ahead and just put some glue on this. Again, just be very sparse, keep that glue bottle moving quickly, and get that glued down. Do your best to get that fine little border around this piece, and it might help if you pick it up and just kind of nudge it around with your thumb, just like that. That looks great. Very thin little border, but it's very effective. Okay, and I'm going to put the little shield on here. I'm going to glue that down, and then we're going to pop dot this together. So get that centered horizontally and vertically. Okay, that looks great. And then, let's see, how do I want to do this? Okay, so that is going to be centered in there. That's got some cool dimension to it already, so I don't know if we really necessarily have to pop dot this. It might be a little bit too much. Yeah, you know what, let's not. Let's just glue it down. I think it'll be fine like that, because this is kind of a dimensional piece on its own because of the two layers. I think that's going to look fine. And then that way, don't have to worry about any issues of anything coming apart when they're pulling it out of the envelope. And that envelope won't get too bulky either. Okay, so I'm just gluing that down. And then I'm going to pop the little shield on the front of it. Just putting a little glue on the back of my shield. Okay. And we want to kind of just get it to where the bottom of that shield is pretty much at the bottom of that dimensional piece, and use the little point there as your center mark to make sure you've got it nice and centered. And there's your little front piece that we are going to glue right here, and we're going to get that nice and centered. Okay, so go ahead and work some glue out to the edge. Okay, and then just a little bit of glue in the middle. And let's get that nice and centered on our card. And that looks pretty good. Okay, and just push down, hold that down till it's nice and dry. Super quick card, and I know sometimes you don't want to spend forever on a card, but you want it to be cool, so check it out. There's your card. It opens up thanks to you. You can put a little note in there. Okay, and then let's get our envelope. So I'm going to show you the cute little envelope, and I'll just pop that right in there. Should fit perfectly. And there you go, ready to go. Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.